Okay. Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classic. This episode number 1259. And Doubleshot number, actually 65, Doubleshot number 1159. Apologies about that. Now, I got two Marvel trades. One I own, the other one I don't own. First up is a book that, get this, the initial cover price of this book is actually up more than I paid for it. The cover price of this book is $75. I got this for $17. This is Secret Wars, Last Days. Yeah, this is all the books, with the exception of Avengers and New Avengers. That basically is timelines. Basically, all books that basically have the Last Days stuff is in this book. We have Captain America Mighty Avengers 8 through 9, Loki Age of Asgard 14-17, Magneto 18-21, Black Widow 19-20, Miss Marvel Volume 3. Oh, Black Widow, I think that's Volume 4, I believe it is. 19-20. Miss Marvel, Volume 3, 16-19. Punisher, I believe this is Volume 10, Issues 19 and 20. Silver Surfer, Issues 13-15. I believe for this one, this was Volume 5, I think it was. Ant-Man Last Days, Silk number 7, and Spider-Woman number 10. Now, some of these ones I have previously reviewed. The ones I previously reviewed are Captain America Mighty Avengers, Loki Age of Asgard, Magneto, Black Widow, Miss Marvel, and Spider-Woman. So, most book I have reviewed. Now, let's talk first about The Punisher. The Punisher's issues are, this is of course written by Nathan Emerson, and of course the Black Widow book is written by him too. It's mostly put him going after the drug dealer, the drug lord he was chasing the whole entire run, and the thing ends with basically him killing the drug lord, and then the incursion happened. Silver Surfer basically has his own deal with the Last Day stuff, though he's not on Earth, mind you. He's off in space with Dawn Granger. Yeah, this is a three-parter, kind of in the way it ends the first volume of Dan Slott's run for the book. Which, comes to think of it, yeah, this is something I should talk about before I talk about the actual story itself. Apparently, a lot of people, when the book got canceled, a lot of people didn't even know the book was even still being published. Yes, apparently people weren't even aware that Silver Surfer was still being published. Why? Because Marvel never marketed this book. This why I think book is actually really good. It's mostly basically like reunited with the woman that basically he met at the start of the run, and well, basically with Galactus, Dawn basically saying goodbye to her family, and that's kind of how the book ends. It's just basically an abridged retelling of these three issues. Now, what about Ant-Man Last Days? This is a very good one, done by Nick Spencer. Oh, Silver Surfer done by Dan Slott. Ant-Man Last Days is simply him. This book, despite it being called Last Days, I mean, if it had been a one-shot, this could have been issue 6 of this run. Yes, if Marvel had not axed the book after 5 issues just to hit a restart button. I'll talk more about this in a minute. So, he meets up with a woman he met at the start of the run. The woman who financed, the banker who financed his security firm, and he basically asks for an extension. Though, basically, she decides to kind of agree to it, but also invite him to a superhero retirement party, kind of celebrating, well, the end of 616 in a way. Runs into the Thunderer. Yes, the Thunderer. Those of you curious, though, who the heck the Thunderer is, he's a C-list, golden age superhero. Probably never heard of. You may have heard of him thanks to the the Spider-Man animated series from 1990s. Thanks that was six part of the Six Forgotten Warriors saga. We also have Leopard. Also, apparently the woman who was financing him was apparently an old partner of Captain America. Which one? No idea, because they don't really say. It's implied it might have been William Burnside or possibly Spirit 76. I'm not sure because they don't say. It's like, oh, she's an old partner of Captain America. Which one? Nick Spencer doesn't specify. And of course, after going to that party, when he meets him with Leopard, he's like, oh yeah, my dad was in love with you. He's like, oh, that's nice. Can I meet it? Well, he's dead. When the heck did Scott Lang's father die? I don't really know. In case you're curious, I have no idea because I'm sure he probably had a father, but I don't think he's ever been introduced to comics before. I mean, I mean, the only thing new about him when he first showed up is the fact he's divorced and he's a single father. And the fact he stole his Ant-Man suit. And he tries to see his daughter, but she's asleep. And, well, it's a nice story. And I kind of wish that this was actually collected in the actual, like, Ant-Man books, like a Chance Man, along with the Ant-Man annual. But I think that both these two issues were actually collected in the first volume for Astonishing X-Men Ant-Man. I will eventually review that series, because it is really good, and it's a shame Marvel axed book after 13 issues. Next up is Silk. It's just Silk basically doing her own thing, following her around basically while dealing with stuff related to Secret Wars. It's nothing really at home. And it's also the final issue of this volume of Silk before it gets restarted number 1 after Secret Wars. And I've already reviewed Spider already. Now, if you're curious, like, are these stories bad? No, they're actually really good. Now, what happened to these books afterwards? Well, looking at the Age of Asgard Magneto, these books never came back after Secret Wars. Nope. These books actually ended. Black Widow did kind of end, but was brought back a year later. Under Mark Waid and Chris Simney. Lasted 12 issues before the book ended. Was actually a really good book, by the way. It was since brought back a few times after that. As a couple miniseries, now currently brought back as an ongoing series by Kelly Thompson. Captain America by Avengers. This book was briefly replaced by Captain Britain and the Mighty Defenders, well, part of Secret Wars. And then after Secret Wars, oh, by the way, I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. It's a good book. Now, as it gets by My Avengers, this book did officially end, but the characters got split up into 2 books. Now, with the exception of Luke Cage, about half the roster, basically mostly Proton, aka Monica Rambeau, and Blue Marvel, these 2 got moved over to the Ultimates book, as in the case of Power Man and Tigra, and Power Man, White Tiger, and Squirrel Girl. These 3 got moved. Actually, Squirrel Girl was actually not in this book, but those 2 got moved over to the New Avengers book. New Avengers lasted 18 issues before it got canceled, and then replaced with U.S. Avengers was the continuation of it. And then that book got canceled for 12 issues, and that was it for that. Ultimates, great book. Got restarted after Civil War II, because several books had to hit the restart button at the Civil War II for no apparent reason. Al Ewing wrote both of them. And then was relaunched as Ultimates 2, or at least Ultimates Squared, lasting about 13 issues. The last issue was renumbered to issue 100 for some strange reason. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Marvel never bothered to release a Marvel Legacy card related to this thing. Yeah, I thought that was kind of stupid. Like, as far as I can tell, Marvel never bothered to explain exactly what books added up to Ultimates 100. And that was last of the Ultimates because Al Ewing's Ultimates disbanded a panel. One thing nice about the book is that, in fact, we have the 616 version of the Triskelion. Okay, but what about Magni himself? He popped up in Kenny X-Men after... Was it Kenny X-Men. Yeah, he popped up in that book. He popped up in... Let's see. He popped up in that book. He did X-Men Blue. And after Blue ended... Now he's in the main... I think he's in the main X-Men book right now by John Hickman. But what the other books? Punisher was relaunched after Secret Wars, officially. But Emerson didn't come back as the writer. Nope, they replaced him with Becky Cohen, who had a very interesting run for the book. And during the first half of the run, it was done by the now late Steve Dillon. He actually passed away halfway due to issue 7. I'm not kidding about that. He seriously, that would happen. Because he halfway completed the issue because he passed away at that point. He got placed with different artists. Then Becky Cohen ended her run to 14 issues. Rosberg took over with I did not care for the numbering for Punisher. So because I thought it was too low. 218? Seriously? Yeah, apparently Marvel decided not to include the 5th volume for the series, despite the fact it was set in the 616 universe. Maybe because some of the issues were bad, or the fact the book led into Punisher Max. I don't know. I never found the reason for it. The book itself ended like 2 years ago after 14 issues, and then Punisher popped up in the Ravencroft miniseries. And that's it, Punisher. He hasn't done anything since then. In the case of Ant-Man, Stylish Ant-Man series, though he popped up occasionally since then too. Let's see. Silver Surfer. His volume did relaunch, but it lasted 13 issues before it ended. Silk. Well, as in the case of Silk, her book did get relaunched, but it ended like not long after the Hag Clone Conspiracy. I'd say almost not exactly immediately. I'd say like not long after the Clone Conspiracy wrapped up, they ended this book along with the frickin' Prowler series, which that was really good. I think that second volume lasted for about, I think it's about 14 issues, I think it was, before it ended. Robert Thompson's basic with the book. Yep. But, okay. What about Spider-Woman? Well, it was relaunched. Like everything else is basically related to Marvel in 2015. Though this book ended after 17 issues. And it didn't bother to answer the question people asked at the start of it. Who the heck is the father of Jessica Drew's baby? An answer that 5 years later, Marvel has still never answered that question. It has been a recurring question people have had for Marvel for 5 years. Who got Jessica Drew pregnant? Who knows? Yep. But that's what happened to those books. But the stories themselves were actually pretty good. I kind of wish I could cap off Captain America and Mighty Avengers, but I'll have the first volume for the trade, so I might get it in the future. Alright, next up is a much more interesting book set in a different reality. We have 1602. You probably think, like 1602. You're probably thinking, wait, wasn't there a mini-series for Secret Wars called with the name 1602? That was 62 Angela Witch Hunter. Barely deal with this. 1602 is simply put the Marvel characters in the Elizabeth era for England times. Now, each of the characters is doing something uniquely different. For one thing, Doc Doom is still rural Latveria, but his first name is not Victor, it's actually Otto. Which I thought that was kind of weird. Now, the X-Men are here. Well, the original Fab Five are here. But they are referred to as the Witchbreed, and Charles Xavier is referred to as Carlos. He doesn't have a wheelchair because apparently wheelchairs doesn't exist in 1602. Beast is basically not blue fur, and Jean Grey is posing as a man. Angel is mostly the same, except there's no mention of the fact he's from a rich family. Yeah, there's no mention of that at all. Spider-Man is in here too, though he doesn't put on the costume yet. Oh, by the way, his last name is not Parker, it's actually Pethru. I think it's probably just an old English name. Nick Fury kind of does the same thing he does in the regular 616 universe, except that he is actually working for the Queen of England. Doctor Strange doesn't have much for magic, but he is a doctor. Yep. Okay. Is the version of Tony Stark here? Nope. Daredevil is in here. He's just a blind monk. Magneto, along with Toad and Quicksilver here. No mention of Scarlet Witch, surprisingly. Yeah, they're leader of a group known as the Brother. They're basically kind of like a sect of the Catholic Church. Queen Elizabeth herself is actually killed in this series in a way that did not end her life in the actual history books. She died of natural causes in real life. She wasn't assassinated. Though she was replaced. Now, this part was true. She was definitely replaced by her cousin, King James I of England, and of course he's also in Scotland referred to as King James the Eighth, I think it is. Yes. So that part was true, except that the way the Queen Elizabeth died, that was made for this miniseries. Now we also have there's this woman named Virginia Dare. There's a story with her. Okay, there was this colony that was, it's basically referred as the Roanoke Colony. You're probably thinking, what the heck is the Roanoke Colony? It's mostly been like history books, mostly, and it's basically considered to be the U.S.'s oldest cold case. Why? I'll explain. You see, Virginia Dare was actually the granddaughter of the governor of the Roanoke Island. You see, at the time, it was claimed as territory for the Virginia colony. Now it's part of North Carolina. Now, basically, the governor went to England to get supplies to the colony, but he was delayed getting back due to the fact England went to war with France. One of several times, basically, this happened. And by the time he finally got back to the colony, the residents disappeared. There's been a couple of different theories exactly what happened to them. One, they left and went to our colonies. That's one theory that's been rolling around. Another theory is the fact that the whole colony was massacred by the local Indian tribe. And the Indians were very good at hiding the bodies. But there's no mention of any blood. There was no, well, from what I heard, there was no mention of any blood found, surprisingly. Despite that people just completely disappeared. There was some mysterious signs found of the abandoned colony. But as far as I could tell, this mystery was never solved. And think of Virginia Dare here. She's meant to be this timeline's version of Gwen Stacy. But you're probably thinking, who the heck is that Indian guy? He's referred to as Raj, and they'll explain his deal until the last issue of the miniseries. Now, before I get to him, there's a really cool moment where Doctor Strange meets the Watcher, which I thought this was so cool. The freaking Watcher. Yeah, he exists in this universe. He's a bit different than he's normally depicted, and he's basically, yeah, Doctor Strange got in contact with him somehow. It's particularly kind of strange how they explain it. Let's see if we can find it here. Yeah, it is quite interesting to say the least of how in the world that. Also, they have versions of Fantastic Four in here, except referred to as Fantastic Four. And if you wonder what the Watcher looks like in this universe, here he is. You're probably thinking, wait, isn't that what the 616 Watcher looks like? Kind of, yes. But he does look slightly different. He only interacts with Doctor Strange among people. Oh yeah, and here's the thing. Not long after this, after he meets the Watcher, he gets killed and he gets beheaded. I'm not kidding. He's by far the only person who dies in this miniseries aside from Queen Elizabeth. But okay, I should talk about Raj. Oh, before I get to him, the miniseries written by Neil Gaiman. Yeah, Neil Gaiman wrote this 8-issue miniseries with artwork by Andy Kubert, who was a very good artist. Raj is Captain America! You're probably thinking, wait, this is 1602. U.S. doesn't officially exist yet. Well, the reason is actually quite silly. This Captain America is a time traveler from the far future. Where, get this, in this reality, the Purple Man became the President of the United States by using his powers to elect himself President for life, and he managed to round up all the superheroes and have majority be executed. Why? Don't know why. Apparently they had an old man version of Spider-Man and Daredevil pop up in here, where apparently they put on some weight over the years. I'm like, were these guys a threat to you, Purple Man? Why the heck would you execute them for? Oh, and the thing is, for some reason, they don't call him the Purple Man, despite the fact it clearly is. Yeah, he only appeared just for 2 panels. And Captain America, to avoid punishment, like, in order to be executed, he decided to go back in time. Okay. Yeah, he decided to go back in time as his punishment, and he basically kind of starts the U.S. kind of anew in 1602. That's just that. The miniseries is great, and I get the book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's damn good. And here's a surprise. There are 2 spin-offs to this book. Yes. There was one for the Fantastic Four. The other is for Spider-Man. Yep. Just those 2. As in the case of King James, well, there is a follow-up story in Hulk Broken Worlds, number 2, where he gets killed by the 1602 version of the Hulk. Yeah, King James gets killed by the Hulk, despite the fact this is not how he died in real life. Yeah, he wasn't killed by a Marvel superhero. No, he died of natural causes, believe it or not. Yeah, he died of natural causes. I brought that up because that's what happened to him. But oddly enough, in the case 62, aside from the 2 spin-off miniseries in the short story book of Worlds and the Angela Witch Hunter miniseries, there's not much to this universe. I mean, it's a great miniseries. And it's just really good. It's a nice alternate setting for the classic Marvel superheroes. And here's a shocker. There's no version. Now, Thor himself does pop up in this miniseries. Yes, Thor does. Mostly wearing the armor he wore back in the early 90s. Well, around that early time when he wore that Thor armor. Surprisingly, the only one character that's popped up in here is Tony Stark. Yeah, for some reason, he's not here. Now you're probably thinking, okay, Tony Stark is not in 1602? How the heck is that possible? I have no idea. They have majority of almost everyone else there. They have the X-Men, Fantastic Four. Well, Bruce Banner and someone rolling around here, but Tony Stark? Nope, he is nowhere to be seen. Heck, Doc Doom is here, but he's out of on Doom. Also, there's none of the Spider-Man villains in here. Oh yeah, and here's something interesting. Black Widow's this universe. And she kills Matt Murdock. How? Threw off a cliff. For reasons. Yeah, I'm not really sure why she had to do it for. She just did. Yep, but that's Neil Gaiman for you. It's a great miniseries. Surprisingly, for a book by Neil Gaiman that's a miniseries, it's by far really long. Yeah, he hasn't worked in that many miniseries. When you think of Neil Gaiman, what's usually the number one book you think of when you think of Neil Gaiman? Sandman. Yeah, Sandman. This is a book surprisingly not many people talk about when it comes to Neil Gaiman. It's a great miniseries, mind you, yes. But I do think the series should we talk about a little more because it's a great miniseries. It's self-contained. It's not something across the books. Yeah, it does a couple spin-offs. But I think in the case of both, I think Spider-Man takes place after this book, which in that book they kill off Virginia Dare and replace it with Mary Jane Watson. Fantastic Four, I think, is a prequel series. Yeah, it's a prequel to this miniseries. Yep. But all in all, it's a great series overall. Yep. So yeah, that's episode review. I might have one more video to do today, maybe in our comic corner, but as in the case of doing superheroes, I don't think I'll probably do it until maybe tomorrow, if possible. Yep. Produce next video. Bye.